Russian President Vladimir Putin has openly questioned Europe's military readiness and whether the United States would risk nuclear war to protect its allies. In remarks underscoring Russia's long-standing criticism of Europe's dependence, Putin said any escalation would expose what he called Europe's fundamental vulnerability. He warned that if conflict were to erupt, Russia's early warning systems would immediately come into play. Putin said Russia operates a space reconnaissance network designed to detect missile launches before impact. He said the United States has such a system, but Europe does not. Putin described European states as effectively defenseless in the event of a high-intensity confrontation. He then turned to Russia's nuclear arsenal, highlighting both its scale and destructive power. Putin said Russia's tactical nuclear weapons are 3 to 4 times more powerful than the bombs used on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He repeated the comparison, emphasizing the magnitude of Russia's capabilities. Putin added that Russia possesses far more of these weapons deployed across the European continent. He said even if Washington transferred additional weapons from the United States, Russia would still maintain numerical superiority. While insisting he did not want such a scenario, Putin warned the consequences would be catastrophic. He said Russia would seek to reduce its own casualties, but warned losses elsewhere could increase indefinitely. Putin then raised a deeply unsettling question about American resolve. He asked whether Washington would truly engage in a strategic nuclear exchange for Europe. Putin said he doubted it very much, and said Europeans must consider that reality. Putin's remarks come as European leaders and US envoys attempt to project unity on Ukraine. According to AFP, key security guarantees for Kiev were discussed during talks in Paris. US envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner represented Washington at the discussions. Officials from France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, along with Italy and Turkey, also took part. Ukraine's Western allies agreed on guarantees, including a US-led monitoring mechanism. They also backed a European multinational force to be deployed after a ceasefire.
Thank you so much, your countries, for big support, and I think during these years of the war, it was very important that your countries with us, with Ukrainian people. Now we have a new wave, a new chance to finish this war, and we're thankful that on diplomatic way we're also not alone. So thanks to your leaders and best regards, please. From me personally, as I understood that you spoke about all the picture. Just to understand, we wanted very much, before organizing this meeting, we wanted very much our close partners, our friends, to know everything what know we, mostly, in any way, and we wanted very much to share what documents we have already, on which we need your support and joint work.
But fighting has not slowed, and Moscow's negotiating position remains unclear. Putin has repeatedly rejected any deployment of NATO troops in Ukraine. At the same time, Europe faces wider strategic uncertainty in its relationship with Washington. European leaders have responded cautiously to President Trump's military intervention in Venezuela. According to AFP, they have avoided direct condemnation. An EU diplomat told AFP that US involvement remains essential. The diplomat said defending Venezuela's toppled leadership was not in Europe's collective interest. The international order must be based on the observance of fair rules and not on the law of the jungle. And this applies, of course, to Ukraine, which was the subject of today's meeting, but also logically to Gaza. And that is why we are also extremely concerned about the events taking place in other parts of the world, such as Venezuela. As you know, the government of Spain from the very first moment never recognized the government of Maduro because it violated the rules, because its election was illegitimate. And precisely for that reason, it cannot recognize the legitimacy of a military action that is clearly illegal, that violates international law, and whose only objective seems to be none other than to change the executive of another country to appropriate its natural resources. The operation in Caracas is a terrible precedent and a very dangerous precedent. A precedent that, by the way, reminds us of past aggressions and that pushes the world into a future of uncertainty and insecurity like the one we already suffered after other invasions guided by a thirst for oil. Obviously, we cannot accept this, just as we cannot accept that the territorial integrity of a European state such as Denmark is explicitly threatened. We cannot accept it. We are not going to do it as a country, as a government. We will not remain silent in the face of violations of international law, which unfortunately are becoming more and more recurrent. Concerns have also grown over Trump's renewed comments about taking control of Greenland. I can only say that Greenland, like the Faroe Islands, is part of the Danish kingdom, and since Denmark is a member of NATO, Greenland will also be defended by NATO in principle. And if there are further requirements to strengthen the defense efforts regarding Greenland, then we will have to discuss this within the framework of the alliance. The remarks underscore Europe's dependence on American security guarantees. As one EU official put it bluntly, no US, no security guarantees. The stark warning from Moscow is now rippling across Europe, raising a chilling question about who would really defend the continent in a crisis.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That is often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out they right.
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.